I'm Rishabh from Antriksh. We are starting a new series. We are inviting inspiring business leaders and entrepreneurs from Maharashtra. Our very first guest is a special guest. He has a great experience in the corporate sector as well as his entrepreneurial journey. He started way back in 1996 as a R&D trainee in Kirloskar, and over 2+ decades he has been a part of companies like Tata, Dassault, Honda, SAP, in various roles ranging from project lead, consultant, engineer, vice president, and he was also the MD of Indian subcontinent at Sousa, and now he is the head of global sales operations. Thank you so much, Mr. Neeraj Athalye, for being a part of our podcast.
Yes, thank you.
Accepting our invitation.
Pleasure being a part of your first podcast. Really
Yes.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Very early in your career, you transitioned into sales, which is a very dynamic role, and you are a walking and talking image of a very confident and charismatic guy who has been into sales.
You are the first person as a representative of a company.
Hmm.
So it's a tough role, and along with that, the question is that time sales is not very fancy thing. Now it is that condition. So how that transition was?
No, so I think they say that people don't care how much you know, but if you care for them, then they definitely know a lot more about it. So that's something that I've learned over the years, that it's more important to care about your customers,
Mm-hmm.
and if you have that in your DNA, then you can very easily move into sales. One thing that I really liked about sales in my early years was the ability to meet so many people across industries. I mean, Monday you are meeting automotive, Tuesday you're meeting chemical, then you're meeting somebody in pharma, then you're meeting somebody in retail, telecommunications, oil and gas, defense. It's a long list of industries, and if you are lucky enough to get a job in a company that is well respected across these, then it's up to you to position that organization well across those senior executives. So I got a chance to move into sales quite early in my career. I was into technical sales, as we call it initially, then moved into proper sales, and it's been an amazing journey. I think what I really learned and what I can tell a lot of young professionals or who are wanting to get into sales is it's a phenomenal career. You have small startups, you have mid-sized companies which are owned by entrepreneurs, you have slightly larger organizations that have just started pan-India setups, and then you have the larger organizations who have gone global. So you have customers of all types. You also have customers like the conglomerates. You've got a Tata, which is right from a pin to a plane, they are in everything, or an Adani or a Birla. Those are the Indian giants for there, or a Reliance. So if you want to work for some of those companies or be in sales and sell something to them which adds value, then it gives you immense pleasure to be a part of this Indian growth journey. I mean, I have seen India from 2003 to 2023. That's 20 years, and in these 20 years, I've seen the appetite of India grow. I've seen the era when companies had started getting listed on the stock exchange, and that was the reason why they were buying software. Then I saw the .com came. There are so many pages that are there which a sales guy goes through. But in the end, it leaves him very satisfied with one thing that you've added to the country's growth, not just by selling software, but being a part of or being a problem solver for many of those organizations. So that's something worth becoming a sales guy for.
Regarding sales, I have one question. So do you want to share experience of your first sales? That how did you close it, and by any chance if you can share how much the big amount is like, because sales is all about numbers.
Yeah. So when I joined one of the organizations that I did and was in the technical sales, I literally faced a customer in my first half an hour. Nowadays, when you join a company, you've got onboarding, training.
3 months and 6
There
months.
are 3 months, 6 months. There's such a long honeymoon period. I kept my bag and somebody came and said, "Hey, we got to go and sell software to somebody." So I was on the street literally within the first half an hour.
Wow.
And we closed the deal. Not in that half an hour, of course, over a period of a month and a half, but it was India's largest television cathode ray tube manufacturer out of North. And they were just about to start a new plant for LCD TVs. That was when India was going to get LCD TVs, and this was the company that made it for almost every company, whether it was a Sony or a Sansui or whoever. They made CRTs and they were planning to make LEDs for them. So I got a chance to sell first deal there along with a couple of my other sales colleagues, and that's an experience I'll never forget, because as I said, I was there in the first half an hour with whatever knowledge I had. And interestingly, when they went live, so with software you have the concept of going live on a day. So when you go live on that software, I was called again as one of the guests who was a part of that journey, and then your relationship is for life, because you've been at war in the trenches with them in good and bad days, and that leaves a amazing relationship on the table which lasts long. So yeah.
So you still remember that?
Absolutely, I remember them, and I'm sure they do. They do.
One more question about being in sales for a big reputed company and a startup who nobody knows about. Do you think that brand image of that company assists in sales somehow?
Yes, definitely. I think the value of a brand has significant impact on sales, which is why it is a very touchy subject for any marketeer. They will very rarely, not very rarely, they will never allow anything wrong to happen to a brand, because it has an impact on the overall revenue of an organization. So yes, it does. But if you look at in the last 5 years, we've had more unicorns than any other part of the world. Becoming a $1 billion organization so soon is unheard of. You've got mega companies which have existed for the last 30 years who haven't touched $1 billion. And here is somebody with a 3-year experience who's now $1 billion worth, So times are changing. And what's also changing is the speed at which customers' expectations are changing. That's 2023 for you. That I will buy a well-known branded shoe, but I will not hesitate to buy an unknown startup just because they are more sustainable, or they are doing something which is purpose driven. They are helping girl child. I will go and buy their shoes because I like the reason they exist. Whereas this guy is just about sales, although they are the world's best brand. So the reason why people are buying is changing. It could be for software or shoes, doesn't matter. But that's something that we see, and that's why a sales guy has to be always on top of all of this. He needs to know where the wind is going,
right?
And why. And that's how he needs to learn from what's happening as trends and then adapt as he goes.
And the purpose-driven strategy does give you an edge.
Tremendously. I mean, look at Paperboat as an example. I mean, where are the big boys and where is Paperboat? But they came with a purpose-driven tag, and today they've grown. And there are several such examples that you see.
So it doesn't matter if sales person knows how to navigate his thought process and how to do the sales, then
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
I'm part of a small
company or big.
Yeah. See, the basic difference between being a successful sales and a not so successful sales is there are people who will try to earn money and there are people who will try to make money.
Okay.
Now this, as filmy as this dialogue sounds, anybody you meet on an airport and who's made money in sales will tell you the same thing. In earn money, you basically look at doing the job. In make money, you try to figure out how your customer will benefit and they will make money. If you figure how your customer will make money using your solution, application, tool, whatever it is, then you make money. And you make your own company a lot more money than you can think of. And that's how you make money. That's the basic difference between making and earning money. And I think all the big boys in sales know this. They spend a lot, they earn a lot, but it's making money that they know how to.
Great tip to live by for aspiring sales guys.
Sales guys.
Now we'll take a look at a few memes. Okay, I think memes are on sales.
Sales memes, right?
So we have collected a couple of memes and would like to know your reaction or the ground reality that it connects. A famous film, Wolf of the Wall Street, it started the trend of sell me this pen, and it was equivalent to being in sales, and it was used rapidly and randomly all across the internet as a representation of how sales works. And here are a few more. And I think on enterprise level, this is how it goes up. For months you don't hear back, and then you
Oh yeah, I mean, there are customers who will wait for that end of the year to get the best discount. I mean, that continues to be the trend with a certain category of customers. More importantly, for a certain category of softwares, and there are many stories. I'm telling you, I would have never spent my 31st December for almost 15 odd years with my family.
Oh.
My family would always be in some hotel somewhere waiting for me, and I would land up at 1 because till 12 in the night I was closing my last deal. And not just me, there were many of my colleagues who were in pretty much the same boat, all trying our best to do that. So yes, this is very much true even today.
One more time, taking about personal time.
So this is also true. You talk about 31st.
So this is so much true when we do a lot of those large mega events. It's a marketing lead will always assume that certain percentage of people may not be fully relevant but yet land up, and there are a lot of stories of that sort. You've got some old gentleman who has nothing to do with this, who lands up for lunch and then always has some question to ask in the middle of the most important forum. So there were enough of these that I've had in the last several years. Yes.
So this is also.
I think this is a common trend among youngsters.
Yeah,
I think having said that, networking is one of the most powerful traits that any budding salesperson should build. LinkedIn is a great tool to network with a lot of people. I mean, we got connected over LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So my approach was like very okay, or
yeah. I mean, as long as you are very professional with the way you are engaging,
okay.
I think that's always respected, and there are people who would be keen to help.
True.
Building a network is something you should start right from your college days, and throughout your career you should always do that. In the old days we used to meet a lot more face to face. Now there's a lot more digital that's happening.
Right.
So your persona is known to people who are keen to know you through digital mediums. So having good best practices of maintaining a clean image and making sure that you always share as much as you can, I think that helps build a network. But yeah.
And that's a cat with a beer bottle.
During COVID, I think we saw the epitome of online calls. It was quite difficult because, more so in India, because in India we are traditionally not used to having an office room.
Yes.
We always accommodated what we have. So you've got a pressure cooker sound, you've got a kid crying, you've got a dog wanting to get on your lap, and you had a call. So we still, big organizations and more empathetic organizations always allowed this kind of interruptions. And yes, there were times when people did fall asleep because too much of calls happening. And so this picture is true to an extent.
This is also a nice one.
So do you think this is true, like many salespeople just for the other person to like them, they'll say anything?
Yes, that's a very short-lived period for any customer. Just like we get experience during the years, even the customer is getting experience over the years. So a lot of the CTOs, CIOs, CFOs, CEOs that I met in the years, I have seen that they've learned over the years whom to trust and whom not to trust. They've also understood the traits that salespeople have a habit of throwing around, and they know how to catch the bluff. Likewise, we also from the sales side have a good understanding of which customers are very serious, which just are keen to have more information, because today that is also needed. So we are also equally intelligent on that, and we do make modifications in our engagement accordingly.
So this was a pretty famous meme template.
Absolutely true, by the way. If you have a customer who you sold for the last 10 years, and you go to him on the 11th year saying, I don't know whether you want to buy it or no, but I need to sell. In all probability, the customer might help you.
Wow. Okay.
Of course, he will always buy something that he needs. It's never something that but he can prepone a decision just for you because you've been there with him through the thicks and things. And typically, this is done when you're speaking to the absolute top boss. You know, somebody who signs the check, really, who's responsible for a lot more than just buying. So that gentleman will take this call in the interest of a relationship. Trust me, they can do it a lot more. So this one, I mean, every sales guy goes through this. You've got situations when 2 o'clock in the night a customer will call you saying, hey, this is not working. The guys who actually help that customer at that 2 o'clock, I see people who've picked a car and go to the customer at 2 o'clock in the night and solve his problem and come back at 9 in the morning. And then you have a customer for life. And when you do that for some of the large enterprise customers in India, you have a sales career. It doesn't matter who you're working for.
Right.
After that, you can work for brand A, brand B, brand C. Once you have a customer who trusts you and who knows that yes, this guy is not going to cheat me, you've got a credibility that can sell a lot more. Who says stressful? So that's a good one actually. I mean, those who feel stressed in sales should slowly, steadily move into a slightly different allied line of business. You know, you can get into pre-sales because there is no targets, but you still enjoy the sales process. You can move into customer success, which is post-sales, where you can still use your technical know-how, relationship. Yes, it's a soft selling, but the whole objective is to make a customer successful. So you should transition into one of these if you feel very uncomfortable and stressful. And I'm telling you, a stressed sales guy only messes with his health. I can assure you that. All bad habits creep in, and then he's not a pleasant person at home either, and that's not a good thing. So sales is great, but there are many other great things. And by the way, sales nowadays is not just one piece of the cake. Or rather, it's now only one piece of the cake. You've got sales, post-sales, support, consulting, pre-sales, business development, marketing. So all this constitutes sales.
GTM.
That's 2023 onwards. And then there's a layer of customer sentiment and experience on top. And this is what sales is today. That's why in my days, sales, and there was an MBA course called Sales and Marketing, which was meant for anybody who wanted to sell. But gone are those days now. Now, even if you're in support, your top priority is to get the customer to adopt whatever you have sold him or her. You know, and the faster they adopt, the faster the chance of you going back with something new on, or building confidence with the customer saying, yes, this works. I deployed it quick. I mean, I'll give you an example. When I started as an entrepreneur in one of my startups, I used to do a lot of cloud business. We went live with a sourcing solution in 3 days. Okay, and in the first reverse auction, for those of you who don't know what reverse auction is, basically if I want to buy bananas, then I just tell the whole world, anybody who's selling bananas can quote. And then the first guy says 10, the second guy says I want to sell, so I'll quote 9. And the third guy says no, 8. Then somebody will say 4. And then you pick the 4. And then you've got bananas at the best price. So this customer went live in 3 days. On the 4th day, he did a reverse auction. And the entire cost of that software and deployment was recovered in that 1 day. So within 4 days, all his investment in crores was well done. So you have such great situations also. So, you know, yes, it does get stressful sometimes, but there are always great moments too.
Have you faced this like enmities between colleagues when it comes to fighting for a customer?
Oh yeah. This is there's a age-old concept called territory management. So whether this is my territory or your territory, there are some pin codes which will always overlap. There are some industries that will always be in north but have a head office in south. I mean, there are n number of examples, and the companies don't stop creating this confusion either. So they try their best to be as good as they can with the whole go-to-market, but this does happen. And when this happens, all your back pockets are filled with real deals. But what you do on calls is just call out things that are not deals. On the last day, they will come and flip those deals in the open, and the guy who actually owned that account, he will be shocked. How come this guy didn't mind? There are enough of those examples.
But you can deal with it in a healthy manner.
Of course.
It's part of
It's a part of the process, and sales guys at the end of the day figure it out. There are ways to. If it gets very hot, then organizations have a method of dispute and resolution, and they do sometimes split a deal. The interest of being fair. It's all about being fair. So yeah.
So this is also connected. The next question I wanted to ask about the work-life balance and everything. So we'll talk about. But what do you think?
No, I think work-life balance is super crucial. I mean, we use our mobile phones every day, right? Can you use it without charging? It's that simple. And if you charge it less, rest assured it will run out midweek. So if you have to be a long-term sales guy, then you need to be fit. You need to give a lot more time to family, and you need to give a lot more time to yourself. You know, one of the most important things is to find your mantra. Mine is motorcycling. I do a lot of motorcycling.
Wow.
So and I was lucky to be exposed to this amazing art of motorcycling, I can say, and that keeps me well and good on my weekends. Short rides, long rides, do what you like, but that gives you energy.
Right.
So yeah, very much needed.
Because there's always a tussle between people who brag about their hustle timings. I work 12 hours a day and stuff. At the same time, there are youngsters who are very typical that I don't want to work after my 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. cut off. So
especially in Europe, I saw one of my colleague. It's like 3 o'clock. He wrote half mail, and he did not complete. It's 3 o'clock. He went home.
So yeah, so I have each one to his own. Each one has his or her way of looking at life. So I'm nobody to comment on that. From my perspective, I can say that right now India is at a stage where all of us should work 12 hours a day. Literally, we have to grow as a country much faster than everybody around us. We have much smaller countries who've grown faster, and they didn't grow fast just because somebody gave them a lottery ticket. Every citizen of that country, look at Japan as an example, look at Korea as an example. There are so many of them who worked really hard for last several years, and there are generations who worked hard for the current generation to enjoy. I mean, yours is going to be the generation that probably has to work just as hard or even more hard than what we folks did. But I guess that's needed. And work-life balance, I would say, yes, it's needed. There's no doubt about that. Take your weekends and all of that. Give priority to doing something good. I'll give you an interesting example. I have a small farmhouse where I once in a while get a chance to go and be a part of that whole farming exercise. One of these days I went to plant rice. It's a back-breaking exercise. I mean, it's not easy. It just looks great for Instagram, but in reality it is quite tough. But when I started doing it, I enjoyed it so much. Yes, at night I realized how much I had worked. But those 8-9 hours that I was planting rice, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I didn't even know when time passed. So for anybody who loves his work, even 12 hours is less.
Understood.
If you hate your job, even 4 hours is a lot more.
Indeed.
So if you want to be good in sales, enjoy it. And if you enjoy it, you will work like crazy, rest assured. Just a different perspective. Yeah, this is perseverance is another quality that every sales guy must have. You will always get a no.
Yes.
If there is no time, I have to do a call, I don't have budget, we are looking at next year. I mean, there are n number of reasons why a customer says no.
Exactly.
But a relationship is something that is always a yes. It's for you to convert a no into a yes over a period of time, that too, if you sell value. So, this is something that you will always get, especially when you are in a highly competitive environment. And the customer is very comfortable with your competitor because his sales guy has done a great job. So the first thing when somebody new comes is, no, we've already fixed something. It's an uphill task from that point on. But any good sales guy knows how to build that relation, and then there are, in fact, I've written a book called A to Z of Solution Sales.
Great.
I just finished writing it. I'm going through the proofreading. Very soon I'll launch it, probably from your studio. I'll launch it. And it's A to Z, as in 26 chapters.
Great.
Each chapter will tell you one particular method of how you can reach out and sell value and get that sale. So there are 26 techniques that I have learned over the last 20 plus years that I've documented. Some are more recent, interestingly. Some are traditional, age-old, which work even today. But it's an interesting thing because in sales, you will see that you have a vertical sales motion, which means I own the account, I know the customer, it's my account. And then there is horizontal sales, which is a solution sales, where a brand has to go and be a part of a bigger deal. So there are a lot of books on the vertical. I didn't find too many books on the horizontal. Brand sales and leading the brand sales, brand itself. So I've written a book on that. Hopefully folks like it.
Yes,
We look forward to it.
Yes.
Yeah. You have those situations. I mean, customers bite their tongue sometimes, where they take a decision or they say no to you, saying that they've already got a good deal. And then in the recent few years, we have seen that compliance as a topic has always been of priority, but it is more so now than ever before. Many or most of the large organizations in India and globally do not allow anything non-compliant. And what I mean by non-compliant is not any negative practice. I just mean that in a contract, when you have a certain line which says this part is free, or I'm buying this and it's documented, there is no usher in that, but such things are not permitted. So a sales guy might say, I will get it done for you. And when he goes back, his legal head says, sorry, not allowed. And then he goes back to the customer and says, sorry, can't do it. And then the customer says, oh geez, now I got to go back to the guy we said no to. And now that guy knows that I have no other option but to buy this. And you have these moments,
But this again part of it.
Absolutely, part of life. And if you do a good job, your customers remember you for that.
So you spoke about sales not being one specific thing. It's one whole cake comprised of different pieces that constitutes sales. Business development, customer support, customer success, pre-sales, post-sales, and so on. So how do you make other departments or people, in all these different roles realize that we are all contributing to sales ultimately?
Yes.
Or customer for that matter.
Even the customer.
Good. So I think, one is traditionally the sales guy was always the guy with the Ferrari or with the cap or with the Ray-Ban, whatever you want to say. So he was the smart ass in town. But now what we more and more see is that organizations are changing their practices. Earlier there used to be sales operations. Now it's called revenue operations. And RevOps or revenue operations looks at a full 360. Now when do things like these change? When does somebody in customer support sitting in a 24/7 center somewhere feel that he's just as savvy as the sales guy? When the organization starts looking at revenue operations. They have KPIs for revenue operations. They have awards for revenue operations. They have incentives for revenue operations. Very soon, those of you who are in this domain, you will see that your KPIs for the year will start having cross-selling and upselling as targets.
Right.
And when you get those, you will know that you are just as close to sales as the sales guy himself. I mean, a customer who's adopted your solution feels comfortable calling the support person first and saying that, hey, this has gone wrong, we are setting up a new plant, we've just acquired a new company, we've hired 500 new consultants. Those are the triggers to tell that the customer is going to buy more.
Right.
It's the support guy who knows this first before anybody else. If you're a consultant, while you're doing the project, you know that, they have not considered that particular country and they will look at it in phase 2. So you can tell the sales guy, hey, create a lead for selling that to that country. So his contribution is just as much as the sales guy.
Exactly.
The difference that has started happening is access to the CRM solution is now being given to the whole 360. And when you have that, that's when you have to touch the account and do your part. And when you do that, it's registered. When it's registered, it's awarded.
Wow.
So the processes will take care of this on their own. Organizations who are not doing RevOps, they will very shortly. Their CFO is not going to let them lose. He will look at ARR and ask them to move to RevOps.
Fantastic. So
Wow.
making everyone part of this revenue generation team will also, they will also confident that they are contributing something. They are not cost center. They are contributing to revenue, and this will change then.
Yeah, and I'll give you a very interesting story and something that I have personally experienced in sales. Sales is a culture, or customer success is a culture. In one of the organizations that I've worked, and anybody who's worked in that organization will agree with what I'm saying, even the security guard is a sales guy, and he has shown that he is just as good a sales guy as a sales guy in that organization. Whenever he receives a call on a Saturday when there's nobody, he picks up the phone, takes down the details, gives the customer comfort that yes, we will get back to you, as if he was the sales guy or he was the business development guy. This happens when you have a culture which brings everybody together, saying customer is king. Anybody who touches the customer has just as much responsibility to make sure he or she gets what he wants. So I've seen phenomenal such examples, and that gentleman is well respected in the organization today. And people who have left that organization also remember him very fondly, and he's in touch. He's just as connected with me on LinkedIn as anybody else.
Wow.
Great, principles to live by and implement within our organization as well.
Absolutely.
Inviting you had a kind of a selfish motive for ourselves because we wanted to learn from you and hear you speak and tell us about all things, and we thought why not broadcast it for the youth specifically, so everyone could gain insights from it. And it was a wonderful session having you here, sir, and thank you once again for being a part of our first episode of this series.
Thank you very much, and Jai Maharashtra.